All right. Thank you for joining our second episode of the CNY Sesh cast. We got another special guest tonight. I want to start by just introducing some of our sponsors, Flower Coop and the Green Room. Pointing out the Green Room's doing Saturday, Sunday, and getting ready to launch in Rochester on Wednesdays. What else do we got? We got Tip Hill's Finest and a special guest sponsor tonight, basically Ink Carts. And they were basically one of the first real higher end local cart manufacturers that I found. Came across them during the pot protest in Oswego right after that one Oswego raid. So with Legacy Growers. So I reached out to them, and every time I've had one, been a great smoke. So until we can smoke in studio, we can at least do this. All right. And today I've got a special guest from Urbane. And introduce yourself.
How you doing? Thank you for having me. My name is Gray, and I'm from Urbane.
All right. And Urbane, where's it come? What's the name come from?
Urbane typically refers to people more than it does, and kind of like a manner, but it means refinement basically, and
Nice.
elegance. So that's kind of what we try to bring with everything, is like just a certain level of refinement and elegance to a product that sometimes doesn't really have that. Sometimes people like it to be a little less flashy. You know what I mean? Something just a little more kind of sleek, refined, understated.
Nice.
Effective.
Nice. No, I get that. Like I said, I went with THC Maven because I was like, oh, I like that. Expert, but doesn't really, I don't have to have any real expertise, but it's like, I know a lot about pot. So
Yeah.
it's like, but not everything. So I'm not, it works.
No, none of us will ever know everything there is to know about pot.
You brought a
There's
guest,
so
I'm gonna do
much.
I know. And until I'm going to crinkle for a moment, so one sec.
Crinkle it up.
Let me get the crinkle out of the way. Ooh, special gift to some gummies. Those are definitely getting broken into. Oh.
And more gummies.
Oh, shit. Is this what we were smoking earlier?
That is what we smoked earlier. Yes.
All right. This is an example of the nice refinement. Not just the joint, but tell them about this.
It is. So those are our infused pre-rolls. Those have been getting a little more popular lately. That one in your hand is probably 1.5 grams of flour, probably 1/4 gram of concentrates, which, true to our name, really, really good stuff. Never gonna... They pass all the tests, I should say. So it's all really, really good stuff from people we trust. And they get you ripped, man. They are packed tight, so they burn slow and nice.
You get the nice little ring, I see. Just on the little bit we smoked out in the thing. When it became recording time, I was like, you know what? I'm good. We don't have to keep them waiting upstairs. So
Yeah,
that's
right.
No problem.
That thing gives. They give and they give. The last third is almost like just a moon rock in a straw.
Yeah. Same thing with gummies. Gummies are good too.
Thank you. Before I did all this, I was actually a professional chef. So I spent like almost a decade in kitchens. Went to school for it and everything. And so my favorite edible is gummies. And I can rarely find good ones. And I was hearing the same thing from a lot of people. And so I said, all right, you know what? I'm going to apply the old to the new. And I spent probably 6 months refining that recipe and getting it to where I wanted it to be.
No, they're great. Nice taste level and everything. I like the fun shapes for the different ones.
Thank you. The sour skulls and bones have become one of our kind of like signature moves. And we try to keep it nostalgic too, doing the circuit at the shows. Those are in big lit up jars. You can come and you can mix and match if you want to, or you can just get the like bagged up ones. But, with that kind of, without sounding arrogant, that like touch of class, we also like to bring like a huge level of nostalgia.
I love that. It really is I've said with a lot of these, it's with building the brand and everything. It's those little things that really notch it up. Whenever I'm looking at different vendor tables, anybody can supply a table full of just items. But it's I talk about, the curation of it, or as I talk about, it's like, are you a grower or are you a shower? Do you grow and produce, or grow, produce, make your own products? Are you just showing, curating, which both of them are great. I mean, you want to find somebody that is doing either or both, and really brings a complete, either themselves a complete product line, or at least a product line you can trust.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's what we're trying to deliver.
So you put
safety.
yourself in the combination of both, where you're producing part of the products and then acquiring others. You're not essentially growing all your own flour, stuff like that.
No, sir.
Exactly.
It is partnerships, right? It's people that I meet, I get to know, they have good stuff.
You find the right people and get the right supply, and that curation part is really effective. I found, it's finding not just good stuff, but interesting and, interesting
absolutely.
different flours and interesting different ways to use it, different ways to show it and display it.
100%.
Because, packaging is going to be a big thing. How to set yourself apart in this market is going to be a big thing. I love stuff like the candy jars, things like that.
Presentation.
So let me ask the next question. So I'm not 100% sure. So you work with your mom, right?
Yeah, she is one of my business partners.
That's what I thought, and I love that.
Yep, she does some of those shows with me. A great deal of them, actually. She really loves some of our like Ithaca and Binghamton shows. She doesn't make it out to so many of the Syracuse events with me. But nah, man, she's down for it. She kicks ass, and she sells those gummies like you wouldn't believe.
I love that. It really shows the family the family nature of a lot of these events and stuff, and finally coming out. It's like, well, it's not just going out, to some shady different event. No, we're going out for our Saturday or a Wednesday night or something to do.
Yep.
And whether it's going and doing the shows or just attending the shows.
It's a lot more wholesome than people think.
Yes.
Actually, you'd be very surprised. I mean, you wouldn't be, you go, but like...
No, when you first go, that's your first instinct is, literally, it's like, whatever I'm told, now it's overblown. And then you go and you're like, oh no, this is everything they explained, and they left so much more out.
Yeah.
McDrulley, like last week, we had McDrulley on, and he had the cotton candy.
Yep.
And
which is awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
It's really tasty. So yeah, shout outs to him. Return the favor here. Truly McBurger Bun. Amazing stuff.
And you go and you'll see packs, at the different events with slushies, and it's like you see the people every week. They're going out to get their slushie, they're going out to get their drink, have fun.
Yeah,
and
totally. It's like, it has become like a festival. You can come to my table and get the candy shop, and then you can go see Cheeseburger and get the cotton candy. It's like they have gotten to. I even saw a guy at a show the other day. He had just like a big pretzel machine, like infused pretzels. So it's like people are leaning into the fair food thing. I'm waiting to see elephant ears.
It really is a lot of fun. There's all the different variety it's getting a little bit more of the carnival atmosphere. Last year, over the summer, actually, in Rochester, speaking of carnivals, there was Summer Carnival. That was a lot of fun. They had stilt walkers and everything, and, it was like, damn, this really is a carnival-type atmosphere.
Yeah, it's awesome. I haven't gone to a single one and found, like... I don't know. There's very rarely any, like, stinkers in the bunch, you know what I mean? Like, I always go, I meet really cool people. Upon, like, moving to central upstate New York, I've met, like, most of the, like friendly connections that I've made have, if not all of them, have been in this community.
So, what was your first, like, legal event, either as a customer or a vendor, like event?
The gray area legal. It was in. So actually, this is funny because, like, I was kind of gonna say that, like, if you had seen the very first event that I was at as a vendor compared to now, it's absolutely ludicrous. It's hilarious. The first one I went to in New York would have been the Finger Lakes Canna Market.
Okay.
Down in Ithaca. And I checked it out because I had reached out to them about doing some like infused dining events. It was something they were trying to put together. It was something that I kind of came out here with my sights on. Still hasn't happened yet, but we're working on it. We're working on it. So look out for that. But I went and I checked out one of theirs. It was really, really cool. It just reminded me of being at a farmer's market. And I met some really, really cool people that like I have continued to talk to because I see them at these shows. We've connected on like Instagram and stuff like that. So it's like I've made like actual just like friends just attending these shows, which is really, really cool. Back to that point, but I digress. And then when we did one as vendors for the first time, it was out at a what do I even call it? Essentially a abandoned resort, I guess.
Okay.
Like this kind of like lakeside, very small lakeside place, but it was, I mean, it was out there. It was deep. Like it was a commute for everyone involved. You know what I mean? Like, so the turnout was terrible. But like in the end, I was so glad that it was, because I got a chance to hang out with all these vendors and, you know, make connections that way and just kind of like hang out and look at other people's tables and then look at mine and just be like, oh my God.
Oh, when you realize the moment you got to step up your game.
Oh, I saw a picture of it the other day and it was mortifying.
So my first event would have been up here in Syracuse. It was the Alien Opera House, and showed up, and it was a couple weeks in still, even when I first went early days, and I show up, and I'm blown away. I'm like, how the fuck does everybody have their shit together? I'm like, this is professional. I mean, I'm like, and this came out of nowhere. I mean, it destroyed that stigma of potheads can't get shit done. I'm like,
yeah,
this is really organized. I mean, I've been to a lot of events since where it shows that it's a pothead that just went, I can throw an event, and you realize there's crucial things that you have to have in place to have people not just go, I'm gonna keep driving.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. And then it's like, you know, there's stuff that I think like for vendors too, like there's a lot of like points that a venue has to hit for them to like want to do it in the first place too. So it's like I'm glad that more and more are showing up so that the vendors don't feel like they have to do the only existing events. Like people are kind of popping up that are a little more organized, a little more like thinking about the vendors a little bit more than just a bunch of potheads trying to, you know, put a thing together and have a party.
No, literally. I mean, my day job, on the weekends, I'm literally going table to table. Everything good? You got everything set? You know, running around, I joke. It's like I have in my backpack extension cords, you know,
good
power strips. It's like those random things that you don't realize. It's like, oh, you need baggies. Yep, got them. Oh, those little weird batteries? Maybe? It's like, depending on which one your scales are using, I might have it. It's like I try to keep at least a couple double A's, triples, but
hey, man, I'm sure they love you for that.
Oh, yeah, no, it comes in handy.
Yo, yeah.
It saves you running to the store for somebody that's like, can you watch my table?
That's a moment when you're kind of like, oh, I forgot something very important. What do I do here? But it's cool because you can lean on everybody else.
Yeah, you know, it becomes a community. Definitely have run it. Same thing. It's like, okay, if I don't have it, I know I can hit up this vendor who probably has something they can pass along.
So I bring like 10 dab tools to every event because in case someone's short. Don't worry, I got you.
Yeah, no, the dab bar, I say, is definitely a crucial to every event. You just at least need some place for somebody to pull aside, catch a quick dab, you know, try something out. I definitely support it. I know, you know, there's a bunch of good ones out there, each different event.
Yeah.
You know, between different people that bring glass, like we've talked about, you know, Fragile I brought up, you know, to you earlier.
Yeah, those guys rock.
I love those guys, you know. And they're one of the sayings. If you got an event and never need a dab bar, give them a call.
Yeah,
And
those
they
dudes
show
rock.
up
Like,
ready to rock. And I'm
Shout
gonna
out to them.
disappear for a second.
shout out to Fragile. They were with me actually at one of my first Syracuse events, and then we kind of double team. Like I kind of like supplied their dab bar at the following show and set up shop next to them, and that was like, I think, instrumental
So what
in
did that-
some recognition up in here in Syracuse.
Was that what
That was
Canacuse?
Canacuse.
Yes, that's a fun event. It's definitely a nice summer event.
Yeah,
You
I
joke,
haven't done it in a while.
I joke it's a great summer event. It's a little bit cold for a no smoking indoor venue.
Yeah.
I mean, that definitely is put a damper on certain events.
Yeah,
It's
I agree.
like you definitely have to find an event that maybe doesn't allow smoking, but
Yeah.
turns a blind eye. Which even when I say allow smoking, or that's pot. I mean, because
Yeah.
even that you see cigarettes, it's like no, but
Yeah, there's a few venues where you can smoke cigarettes inside, and even as like a smoker and a like shocker here, big time weed smoker, that can be a little rough on me sometimes. So,
no,
but a lot of venues are changing that. So
yeah, I like them that they keep. I like even as a smoker myself. Same thing as a cigarette smoker myself. I like to just take that outside. I mean, we don't need that dirty ass shit in here. I say.
I like my cigarette smoke inside. I don't like anybody else's cigarette smoke inside. So I feel like everybody else is the same.
We'll get enough with the blunts. I mean, there'll be enough tobacco in the air. Don't worry.
I leave
If you're
some of
missing
these
it.
smelling like an ashtray, man.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
better-
intense.
that, or you got to be careful. You got to make sure if you got food in an event, have good ventilation for that. Because you don't
Yeah.
want to come home and smell like pot and fried chicken. You're like, oh, this is
Yeah,
too
totally.
telling. I mean,
Yeah.
you get certain combinations in your clothes, and it's just like you pick it up. It's like, did the dog pee on it, or
Yeah.
did?
Totally. Get pulled over on the way home smelling like that with your table's worth of inventory in the back.
Yeah, they drive.
Good luck.
Currently, at least, the driving it from venue to venue. That's always got to be the most pain in the ass part. The lugging the.
Yeah, it's although I followed suit. I got the idea from a couple other vendors. Just went over to the hardware store and got one of those like stackable toolbox pulley sets. Yeah, and I'm not going to front like I started that trend at all. I totally stole that idea. It's
No, it's a smart way
Awesome.
to go. You really, after going to enough events, I probably could start a pot general store. Now, I won't sell any pot there.
Just
all the accessories you need. It's like, okay, here's your pop-up thing. Here's where to get your printer your
Yep.
banner printed.
Absolutely.
Actually, these guys are over here. If you hit me up if you need banner printing and whatnot, I'll shout them out.
I will.
Over at Billionaire.
Actually. You guys do
They do all
tablecloths?
kinds of fun stuff. Actually, let's include them for a second. Do you do tablecloths?
I do.
Oh, beautiful. We got to talk right after the show.
I would
actually.
love to talk to you about that as well.
Tablecloth, decals, banner ups, banners. I mean, any kind of commercial business cards, QR cards, little scan code stickers, labels for your baggies, anything.
Yeah.
Let's
so-
go.
BelleviaSigns.com.
That's
Beautiful.
That's one of my favorite. Being able to do a live shout or live
Yeah,
commercial and
totally.
shout out. It's like, yeah, definitely, because I know it's convenient. It's such
That's a winning combination of things you got going on here. You're like a cannabis vendor's dream.
yeah. No, now I gotta say, I will shout out while we're talking. No, I will shout out Ink again. They have incredible packaging. I figured out if you're trying to get into it, cut off the bottom. Slips right out. I tried to go through the top. Super tamper resistant. So, but if you're under 18, you didn't hear that from me, or 21, sorry. Under 21, you did not hear that from me. Because, well, you guys stay off these things. They're horrible products.
not for
until
children.
you turn, yeah, exactly.
Not for teenagers either,
Exactly.
or
But-
20-year-olds.
But now, what else we got going on? So, your first event was out in Ithaca, and then you've
Yeah,
traveled. You've
I
traveled
think.
around pretty much a good chunk of the state. Right?
Yeah.
And
Excuse me. our reach in terms of like these the shows and the markets and stuff. We do events all the way from like Ithaca and Binghamton to Auburn, and as many as we can find and connect with in between. So yeah, we've kind of moved around a good amount. I'm spread kind of thin right now.
No,
but
yeah.
you know, worse problems to have, I guess.
Exactly. So then we got into. Oh God, I'm sorry. That kicked in pretty good.
Oh yeah.
I've been munching on the edibles since the beginning.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah, we're about 15, 20 minutes in.
Yeah,
That's the
we
clock.
just hit that feeling point where I'm like, okay, reset for a second, take a drink of water.
Yep. No
It's
worries.
like,
No worries. They
what's
do that.
Why did I completely lose train of thought? And then you were, oh yeah, no, I've been sitting here munching on this package since.
This
we
is
got
See,
here.
they're
hilarious,
dangerous,
by the
man.
way.
You just want to sit there and eat them like, you know.
Because it's exactly 20 minutes, so you know your timing.
Yes, it really is. I mean, the dosing is having your dosing down is important. And as you said, he realized as soon as it's like, nope, you've been eating. So
Yeah. Yes, I love it. We've been getting some awesome stories and like little endorsements about them lately. Be careful.
yeah. And so you were saying before, or we got on, I was asking. So you were from Seattle?
I am from Seattle originally, yeah, for about 30 years. And then I moved out here.
So you basically got to watch the legalization and everything out
Yeah.
there first.
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild. Even when, so it went to medical when I was 18, or maybe like 17. But then by the time I was 18, you could go and get your medical recommendation. You didn't have to be 21.
Okay, so it wasn't like New York's medical where it was like, yeah, you can dick around a lot, have some real major conditions, and then you can go and way overpay for subpar, unknown, basically, product. That's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The funny thing was that in Seattle, all the now it's been a while, I don't really remember, but it couldn't have been all that difficult to set one up because there were plenty that were, you know, a second away from being these like sticker shops and t-shirt shops, stuff like that. With like the gifting programs
Yeah.
where it's like it's just a shop, it looks like a bodega or something, but they've
If
got
you know,
this
you
huge
know.
selection of cannabis, right? And so a lot of them were just like, you know, kind of the joke. Like there were a couple like in my neighborhood growing up that it was like, those are trap houses that somehow got a license to do this. And like, I don't understand how, but they got it. And so it was weird. It was weird because there were a couple that were really legit, like really, really, really legit, and have continued to kill it down there when it switched from medicinal to recreational. And that was a crazy transition too, right? Because, and I think we're going to see it here too, is that for a city and a state that already had such a deeply ingrained cannabis culture, everybody had their guy.
yep.
So it was really cool when the rec shops opened and people went to go see what they were all about, but then they went in there and they were like, wait a minute. You're telling me I'm paying $65 for an eighth? Like this,
yeah, the
this
Apple
doesn't make
stores
any
of-
sense. Exactly. And so something happened. I mean, they figured it out, right? And so now over there, it's like you can go in, you can get an eighth of some really, really, really decent weed for $40. You know what I mean? It's like they have been able to come back and kind of meet the street prices that everybody was used to. But it took a little while. So we're gonna see that here. But yeah, it kind of happened the same way. I mean, there were before. It was medicinal, it was decriminalized and legalized, so things like the shows that you see here, those
Yeah.
were a thing. As far as I know, they weren't quite as prevalent like as they are here. Like Central and like upstate New York took it and ran with it. Dude,
we definitely organized pretty quick and realized
Yeah.
that if anybody's going to have any hope, at fighting a larger,
Yeah.
the corporate cannabis companies, we need to get together, start establishing ourselves
yeah.
instantly.
Yeah, I got myself aligned with a couple of show organizers, a couple of outfits almost a year ago now, and I was like late to the party.
Yeah, no, it really
You
felt
know?
that way. That first, I think, this cold December day that I showed up, I showed up just as a customer, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's been going on for a while." We walk in the front door. I talked about last week. Last episode. I'm like, man, it's these. They were giving gift bags. I'm looking in it. I'm like, they just gave me like more pot than I've had in my possession in quite some time.
Just there you go. Thanks for showing up.
Here you go. Thanks for coming. Tell your friends.
Yeah.
And as we're going through it, the guy in my line behind me is looking. Oh, not as good as last week.
Oh
So
my God, dude.
he had
Come
enough
on.
time to already become jaded. I'm like, but no, this is. It's like you realize that somebody had given you free weed a month before this. You
Yeah.
would have been like me right now, going, "You give the wrong bag." I mean,
Yeah. And
are you
now
sure?
they're mad about the quality of the free stuff.
Yeah, and then there's the stash and dash culture popped up where it was just
Yeah.
like, well, just put stuff out there.
I learned about that relatively recently. I had no idea that was a thing until like a couple months ago.
Yeah, I learned about that early on and jumped on. I was kind of I joked. I'm like okay, I'm now the king of the stash and dashes after me and my daughter had to battle for one, but it's like in all reality we would have gave it to her. Because typically, by that point, we had collected enough where I started to feel a little guilty. But, like, when she had thought, when the lady thought my daughter had found it, she literally, like, goes and tackles her. So I'm like, all right, bitch.
Holy shit.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, all right, game on. This is coming home,
Yeah.
So, yeah, this lady tackles us at me at one point, jumps on my back and shit, trying to get it. I'm like, okay.
Trying to get to the stash so
Yeah.
she can dash.
Oh, yeah.
Dang.
She was motivated. I was like, fuck, I would have gave it to you, but,
She needs it more than you guys, I guess.
yeah.
She needs to chill
It's like,
the fuck out.
unfortunately, it's like, oh, you fought first, so now this shit's coming home with me. But,
Wow.
oh, yeah. No,
I didn't know it was like that.
it usually isn't, but that's probably one of the rare.
I've seen people get serious about it.
Yeah.
But like, woo, throwing hands.
No, early on, same thing. We were coming up on another one, and I saw this other lady coming up on it. It's like, grab my daughter, hold her back. It's like, yeah, let her have it, because,
It's not worth it.
it's not worth it, and she's going to get more joy out of it than us at this point. Turned out she did. It was her first time, getting one, and
all
was
right.
blown away.
Okay.
I mean,
that
90
made her weak.
Oh yeah, most as with most situations, it's like, yeah, most of the time it's great, but every once in a while we talk about bad apple slips in the group, or I mean, when you have pretty much everybody, half the people smoke pot out there, roughly. I mean, or at least are fine with it,
In where?
anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like every time you think, oh, that guy doesn't smoke pot, it's like
You'd be surprised.
yeah, you're like, oh, really? Oh, you see people at events. It's like,
Yeah, there's one vendor that I see at a lot of shows, and I think he's a good example of that, right? Like, kind of everything about him, you're like, yeah, no way. And then he sets up his table, and you're like,
Oh.
yes way.
it's like,
Holy
yeah.
moly.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
different people that are definitely expertise. It's like, man, you really got your shit together. Same thing.
Yeah. Are you just like, they just kind of carry themselves a certain way or whatever? I see a lot of it so far, that there's been so many people that like kind of thought I had them pegged, and do a couple of shows with them, and it's like, huh, all right.
Oh yeah,
All right. I've been very pleasantly surprised a lot of times.
Yeah, there's people that early on it was always my goal. It's like, okay, I got to break through that shell, or I want to meet this person.
Yeah, totally.
Stuff like that. It's like it's like, seems interesting. I mean, that's kind of why I started the show too. It's like, unfortunately, what would happen then is I'd start talking to them, and we'd get a couple minutes in a conversation, and then somebody's come up, and then I do have to do this quiet exit. Oh well, I gotta go. See you later. Because at the shows, everybody, it's like the person behind the table's there for as much to meet people, but it's like as soon as somebody comes up, I want to step aside, and half the time it's like I want to see them kick into sales mode.
That's cool. And again, like I know that these vendors love you for all these considerations that you take, because that's tough.
Yeah, it's
sometimes
like you really do, and you get started talking about something, and you want to hear about their products, hear about their process, stuff like that. But then you see somebody else come up, and it's like, nope.
Yeah, from my side too, it's funny because like it's very easy for me to get carried away talking to somebody that I enjoy talking to, and sometimes lose sales.
Yeah,
so it's like my own thing that I do have to like remember sometimes to be like, oh hey man, sorry, like I'm gonna have to catch up with you a little later. I'm starting to get busy here. I'll just kind of.
I have found some of the best tables. You got to have both your standard sales, the person really, selling, but then you have to have the assistant next to him doing the elbow, going.
Yep. Now I got a
Look
guy
up.
who does most shows
Like,
with me.
You've got a guy
Couple of them.
that's been standing there, like, and you want to pay attention to everybody. I'm sure to the equal amount, but then
Yeah.
you're like, oh crap,
Yeah. No. It's
you get zoned out.
It's a weird balance because, like, I mean, I try to. Any of my guests or customers, I really want them to have a good experience. I want them to feel like I hear what they're saying to me, and you know what I mean.
You're looking for the right product for what they're looking for, as
Yes.
opposed to just trying to.
Just sell them something. Yeah. So it's like I like taking that extra second with all of my customers. I mean, it's just a good way to treat people with dignity, right? Especially when you're trying to sell them something. But that's also how you get people to keep coming back to you. But to what we're saying, it's like now there's a bunch of shows where I was like, I can do this one alone, like whatever, and very quickly I was like, no, I think to be like fully effective at these events in every way that I want to be, I got to bring somebody with me. So like I said earlier, for certain shows, it's always been my mom.
I like
Yeah,
it.
right.
Yes, like I said, that was one of the reasons why I was like, as soon as you reached out as the second one, I'm like, okay. And you mentioned there was potentially, I guess, I'm like, I go to my wife, I'm like, I wonder if it's going to be his mom.
I'll bring her next time.
Will you? Okay,
totally.
then you've got to invite back, because that's another fun conversation.
Awesome.
Because that's what's, again, that's what's been kind of crazy about all this with, it's like not only do you meet people, but you start meeting their parents, their family, friends. It's like, it's kind of crazy that, all of a sudden it's like, man, I know you, this person. You start coming out of the closet. I get a message on Facebook apparently, because I popped that up. It's like, oh, my wife shared it. It's like, oh, your mom enjoyed the episode. I'm like,
right on.
oh, okay, good. Now I don't have to go into any of these uncomfortable conversations. It's like, what do you do for a living now? Well, I talk about pot.
Talk about weed.
I don't know how to really explain it, so eventually you'll figure it out, as I do, really.
Yeah, totally. No, that's what it's. I mean, it's not like it's not really like a real industry yet.
No.
Right? So it's like we all have a lot of room to kind of like maneuver and navigate through that and kind of figure it out while everyone else does.
Yeah, we have what? Two? I mean, there's like 2 dispensaries. I mean, at this point, it's
there's
tourist attractions, really. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what the first handful are definitely going to be.
Yeah. Oddly enough, there's one in Binghamton, I hear.
Oh, is there now?
Yeah, which good for them.
Yeah.
Awesome. But it seems like
Yeah, you'll see.
very odd.
Of course, Manhattan now, we went Times Square, and you can't go 10 feet without just somebody have a table set, literally folding table
Yeah.
set up, shop
Yeah.
set up. I mean, it's like, it just goes to show there's no shortage of demand.
No, and those buses.
Oh, yeah, the weed buses go around. Yeah, I
Yeah.
try to tell her, it's like, no, and really we're not so much competing against, each vendor isn't so much competing against each other. I mean, it's really everybody's kind of competing to build that base up. It's like informing other people about the different shows.
Totally. And I mean, to that, it's like I know there's like a lot of, there's a lot of other vendors that kind of do the same thing that I do, or have, offer the same products anyway. And if ever a time somebody's looking for something at my table, I don't have it, I always send them to one of those other vendors. You know what I mean? And a lot of people do that for me too. So I see that a lot more often than like direct competition. Like there's a little bit less of the, oh, I don't have that, but I'm going to sell you on this. Yeah. It's more like what we were talking about earlier, that we actually give a shit about our customers' experience. So I've seen this kind of like culture of like, nah, I don't have it, but go over to that guy's table. Like, no, I only do gummies. If you want, the most awesome cookie you've ever had, go over to that table right there.
Yes.
So I see a lot of that.
They here do
really cool.
podcasts. One of the podcasts they have Baked by Mon quite a bit, and oh my God, he does. It's like you're saying, cupcakes. It's like if you need cupcakes, especially it's like a party or something. Hit this guy, you hit him up because they're moist, incredible. You can barely tell you can't tell they're infused. I mean,
yeah, and I think that's important these days.
But in that specialization of taking that product, I'm gonna figure out how to do the best product to present to my customer. If it's not what I do best, I'll point out somebody who does.
Mm-hmm. I like that, and it seems like a lot of people kind of like. Who see each other like each week, it's everybody kind of falls into this like rhythm, right? While there's a lot of overlap on other tables, it's like people kind of like stay in their own lane, and I do see a lot of it's just like a lot more people working together, I think, than you would expect, in a lot more ways than I think you would expect. No, it's really cool. Everybody kind of hypes each other up.
Yes, it's definitely it's very cooperative. I mean, especially with the different the shows and stuff.
Cooperative.
Yes.
That's the word I was looking for, I think.
No problem. But, so, what actually, I buried the lead. That's one, usually I ask first thing. So, when was the first time you got high?
Oh man, I actually remember this really well. I was 13. Yeah, I was 13. I waited until I turned 13.
Another fellow young one, yeah, started early.
And I was friends with this kid. He was one of my best friends in middle school. This kid was nuts. I don't think he'll ever see this. His name was Max Perry. And
if I ever blow up, I'll beep that. But until we hit hit a couple hundred,
I don't
viewers,
think he's gonna come after me. I think he'd probably be stoked if he ever saw this.
Okay, perfect.
I heard that I was talking about him as my first like weed sesh ever, right? So me and this kid got in like a lot of trouble together, but I don't know how long he had been smoking weed, because we were 13 and he already like knew what time it was. You know what I mean?
Oh, I remember the 13-year-old that was like pro. He'd done everything.
Exactly,
at that point.
right?
It's like, no, don't even talk to me at this point. It's like,
I think I got drunk with him for the first time too. But it was like the classic story. Mom's boyfriend grew weed, so there was always weed at the house. So we went and like stole a little like bit of his weed and punched a bunch of holes in a Sprite can, and
went to town.
Did it the old-fashioned way, and I was super stoned. Like I haven't really recalled back to that in a long time.
See, I like when the first time is, because you hear I didn't get high the first time. It's like, maybe you didn't do it right, or you got shit.
I was high as fuck.
Oh, that's how I was the first time. I mean, literally, I tried that the first time, and I was like, ooh, I want to do this a lot. I had I tried, Coke once too, and I had a similar response, but it was opposite of, oh crap, I would want to do this a lot. So no, but the pot stuff I can,
Yeah, totally.
So it's like, stick with that, and since then it's been pretty much, right down that path. But
And then you never achieve that high ever again after that first go around. At least I never did.
first time you do dabs is probably
That was close. Yeah,
I
no,
was
you're
gonna
right.
say,
Because that was kind of like, oh man, everything's different now.
yeah, you don't know what to expect. You're like, oh, okay, holy shit, I just got high in a hit. Especially,
Yeah.
the first time, I'm like, I don't know what to expect. Plus, you're taking it, odds are you probably took it like a bong rip,
Off way too hot a nail. I think like somewhere within the first like 5 dabs I ever took, I just coughed so hard I puked and had to just kind of like, whoa, sit there alone for a little while. A guy from back home, this might have been like an urban legend, but apparently there was a guy that collapsed a lung smoking off a like red hot nails.
I
and
definitely
bangers.
can imagine. I mean, you definitely want to keep it under temp control. Let that stuff cool.
Yeah.
I like a nice cold start now. Just
Yep.
let it melt a little and go, okay, perfect.
Yep.
If it's too cool, then you can just heat it up a little more. You
Yeah,
can't,
totally.
just like the microwave, you can't, just don't put it on 5 and walk away, Don't get stoned and zone out with the torch on on.
Yeah, totally. No, I think this was back to when BHO just became a thing.
Yeah.
Right. And everybody just knew, oh, it's like this concentrated form of THC that'll get you really, really, really stoned and you smoke it in this crazy way. And there was no nuance to it.
No,
at all.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
propane.
And now it's crazy.
Big ass propane torch. Like I'll repeat a million times. The first time I walked in and saw somebody using that, I'm like, oh fuck! I walked in the wrong room, and they're like, oh no, it's concentrate. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it's concentrate.
I still use one of those big camping
Oh, the
torches
camping
for
one?
sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, if I have company over, I have like a Marvin the Martian style like ray gun torch that I really love.
I love those new.
Courtesy of the Haven Coalition, if that's okay.
No, yeah, like I always say, shout out anybody. But yeah, no, I definitely want to get. I want to get my hands on. I was looking at Fat Ass Glass actually online. Keeps pushing it through my feed, and it's like
They're really cool.
Yeah,
They're
I'm
very satisfying to use too.
Yeah. The other one I'm really pushing through. It's like goddamn Maven torches. I mean THC Maven torches. Come on, send me a fucking box.
Dude, get it. Yeah, come on.
I'll have to hit him up
Sponsor this
again.
man.
I was gonna say Ink recognized and hooked up the community.
Thank you, Ink. Loving this mango kush.
Yeah, this one I got is I ended up picking out that
Is it Mango
Venom
Kush?
OG. Where'd I put your
Here it
box?
is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the packaging is super slick too.
No, I've always been like I said.
Super slick.
I showed up to the pot rally in Oswego. It was right after. It was one of the very few events that just got shut down for the sake of shutting it down. And I mean, it really was a good example of they don't really there isn't really any specific things for these events. I mean, and so.
Like anything in
Legal.
place.
I mean,
that,
yeah, because until they could actually offer a legitimate market, I mean, leave everybody alone, and that's been in general the stance. As long as you avoid parking codes, the basic.
that has been the killer lately. Is fucking parking.
Yep.
Oh my god.
I say that all the time. I will preach to my dying day. Parking kills almost every event.
I was at a show that everybody had to hightail it out of there because of parking.
Yep.
And somebody came to shake us up, and it was just like so ridiculous. And I just keep hearing story after story after story that it's like, yeah, we had to stop this one because somebody was parked in the road. So like again, that's another thing.
Yeah.
One of my like the box you kind of got to tick for me is there has to be a parking lot.
Yep.
Or I don't know if I will do that show.
No, it makes sense. You have to have enough room to get everybody in and out.
And it's safer for the vendors to get back to their cars too.
Yeah, and it really does set a better impression for the community too. That it's like, yes, people can show up and go to these events and they're orderly and nothing, It's like, and heck, if you're listening and come to these, a few little things, follow any parking, stay off people's lawns.
Yep.
I'll definitely throw that out there.
Don't
'cause,
block any driveways
Yeah,
or
don't block
loading
driveways.
docks,
You know,
especially loading docks.
yeah, that basic thing. Do unto others, as we always do. Every once in a while, you get somebody that's like, will show up and it's like park right in front of the door, or basically blocking the front door, and it's like, they're like, oh, I just got to stop and grab something. It's like, yeah, everybody's got to stop and grab something. There's parking lot. Go.
Yeah, I don't know. And I'll give like the tiniest little shred of that to just like people are high before they even show up.
Yeah.
And they're just they're
A lot of times
in
that
their own world.
Yeah, so a lot of times that it is funny how often, I'll see a parking person literally doing the, waving the person to the parking lot, and then you'll see him drive past, and you'll see him go up to the corner, turn around, come back, and pull in the parking lot, and it's like, really? I mean, I get we're all stoners, but you did notice the guy going like
Right?
pointing to the big, empty space. Well, space that looks like it used to be empty had it not been for all these cars pulled in.
Yeah, totally. It's funny. It's like, yeah, again, there is definitely like a formula
Yeah.
to throwing a good event.
Yeah. But so yeah, started early. Yeah, I like that. Like I said, we've so far, last guests were about 19, so I couldn't quite relate. So I'm like, okay. Yeah.
Harley and Cheeseburger were 19.
We're like 19. Yeah, they were like
That-
college age.
That's crazy.
Isn't that
That's-
amazing?
That's hard for me to believe. I thought, yeah, it's like,
No, I mean, I like I said, right from the get go, I'm like, oh no, I like this. We got to figure out how to do more of this.
I like that. That's a good thing to have.
I used to
as
go
like
to
a
my
running-
stepfather's cousin. He had a bar out in Hannibal, out in the sticks, but he'd go and let me bus on the weekends and slip me a little. It's like, oh, Plus, that's when I learned in the early days of resin. It's like, oh wait, I can just kind of take a little butter knife. Definitely evolved since then. I'm like, it's like, oh wait, resin bad, rosin good.
Yeah, no, man, the days of smoking resin, I remember that too. There's
Yeah.
almost like every now and again, like somebody will offer me just like their like pipe, and I'll hit it, and I'll get that like resiny flavor, and like back to that nostalgia factor. Like it tastes like shit, but it totally makes me
tastes
think of when I
familiar.
was like 14, 15, smoking weed out of an apple.
In alcohol parlance, it'd be like, you go and drink something like a Colt 45 or something, if I ever grabbed a Zima, I'm like, oh man, this tastes horrible, but so fucking familiar. I mean, it's
Hey,
like,
don't talk shit about Colt 45. I grew up drinking that.
exactly, we all did. That's why it's so familiar. I mean, believe me, and it came in the paper bag. I mean, I wasn't sure if like they had to supply him to the store the exact right paper bag.
Yeah, I think that was the.
I think that was the deal. They get a case of Colt 45 and the bags that you stick it in.
Yeah, I
'cause
bet those bags are like cut to spec. Like they perfectly
because
hold
they all
a
did.
deucer.
I don't know if they designed the bag for the bottle or the bottle for the bag, but it's one of those things, form and function. It's kind of
Oh,
like
yeah.
the old sandwich bags. I don't know if they got rid of the pleat in the bottom just because us potheads were like, shit's getting stuck in the corner. But it's like,
That's a good point.
I don't know why they got rid of it, but all of a sudden it's like, no. I open a box of sandwich bags, it's got pleats, and it's like, fucking gotta use these for goddamn sandwiches
God
now.
damn it. Yeah, unless you want to be like cutting off the corner and
Yeah.
doing that garbage. Yeah.
One of my favorite pullover stories actually involved that because you save those corners. I was coming home from a concert. This was actually out in Rochester up at the Armory where 420 event's going to be.
Totally.
So got drugged to a concert. We're coming back. Basically me and four other, barely under 18s in the car. So all of a sudden, it's like pulled over, license plate lamp, some bullshit thing like that. But they found my backpack. And of course, they're like, okay, what, start going through and writing what they're finding down. And they start to write down at that point. We found a greenish. I stopped him right there. I'm like, no, that is not green. That is fucking dirt ass fucking brown weed. I knew what I had. That was some shitty Mexican brick. I mean, this was, 20 plus years ago. So I got him to at least write down, greenish brown substance. So luckily they just put a small amount. So, but then they got to the scales and they're like, oh, well, what about these? And I was like, described it like it was back in those days. It's like, think about it. You're going around arresting all these drug dealers, right? Are they the most honorable motherfuckers, back in those days? And they're like, okay, fine. And I was like, this is so I don't get ripped off. But then they found all the bags. And they're like, well, right here. I was like, oh, no, that's for when you're jonesing. They're like, what? I was like, no, when you're jonesing. You don't have any more pot. So you're jonesing. You shake all those out. You give them the little... You pop them out of the bag, and you got enough to smoke a bowl. Get you through till the next, till payday or front day. Because obviously you don't want to go to the person you just fronted an eighth from 2 days later. It's like 3 days. That's the courtesy before I go back, pay for that one, and then
there you go.
Have to front that next one. That's the perfect amount of time. Because 4 days, then they're going to be like, oh, when's this motherfucker showing up?
What you doing?
Where's my fucking money? So... Yeah, so luckily they stopped at the greenish brown substance and left it at that,
Pretty cool cops for back then, right? Because,
Yeah,
I swear you could go to jail for a joint back then.
Yeah, no, it was definitely one of my, closer calls. I'm like, one of those, calls that's like, man, I kind of look at now, I'm like, it would have fucked me then, but I would have been in line for a license at least at this point. Because I showed up in front of the judge, he's like, how much was it? This was a fucking middle of the, nowhere thing. He's like, all right, here's what I'll do. I'm going to find you up basically, I'll find you up the ass for your no license plate lamp. I'll drop the pot charge, And luckily, walked away with that, I'm like, oh. It's like,
That's
okay.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah, man, that's a cool cop, honestly.
Yeah, no, it was one of the rare occasions where it's like you're going to this,
Cool
going to the judge. Yeah, you think to yourself, do you smoke? I mean, can you get better stuff than I'm getting? Because obviously, as I described it, it was fucking brown. I mean, we'd go up to the Syracuse and go to this sketchy ass place and just pick up this block, of.
Yeah.
The most horrible shit. Now that you look at it, it's like, God, if I wasn't, early teens and knew better,
Yeah, no, I mean back that waiting in a grocery store parking lot for 2 hours, to pick up an ounce of all right weed.
Basic meds, yeah.
Mean? But yeah, it's very much
best.
Okay, yeah.
I see
don't
people
miss those
online
days.
even nowadays where it's like, oh, don't smoke mids. I'm like, I'll be honest. I'm not sure what mids are anymore. It's like, was it what I was smoking? Because I'm starting to think that might have been lows. I mean, especially even the stuff that was a couple years ago would have been that. Oh, this shit is the premium. It's kind of like, okay, this is just normal now.
Yeah, although I did, and it's like I haven't smoked flower in a long time that I was like, wow, that really got me. That is worth what you just told me it costs.
Yeah.
I smoked one of these it was I don't even think it was a full gram, and it was this little glass tip pre-roll, and I smoked maybe half of it, and I was burnt. And the dude goes, yeah, that shit's $4,800 a pound. And I was like, yeah, it is. Isn't
it is.
Yeah, I was smoking. I was like, yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is because this is
Yeah, it truly is very rare where nowadays where I'm just like, okay, other than, like I said, dabs and stuff like that, where I'm finally like, okay, I'm done. Well, edibles, yeah, then it's just fall asleep. But
Yeah, right. You gotta be careful though, because I got another homie who like somehow he like broke his tolerance. Man, this guy had crazy tolerance, and then just like one day it just like it wasn't there anymore.
yeah.
Took a dab, crushed him. I think he's back in action now. But,
That's good.
Yeah, I've never heard of that happening before.
No, I found you can really pretty much get your tolerance up to about a certain level, and then you're pretty
I think
well.
I've plateaued.
Yeah, or below, where anything will hit you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, I've definitely, in comparison to some people, realized that was the 5-minute signal, not the raising his hand.
High five.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
High five.
I thought he was raising it. See, yet again on this, I'll let everything show. I
Those
thought he
edibles
was.
are great, aren't they?
They are. I literally thought you were raising
I'll
your
bring you
hand as
guys
part
the
of the
next time. It's
conversation. Then I realized, oh yeah, I'm getting 5 minutes.
No, totally, dude. Well, it's only episode 2.
No, like I keep saying I'll get a format down, but then if Wednesday rolls around, it's time to record, and I go, I kind of like not having this format down at this point.
Nothing wrong with conversational, man.
That's pretty much what my theory going into it was just this: a basic sesh, get together people I don't get to talk to in a show environment because
Totally.
everybody's working. I mean, now it feels like, including myself. I mean, it's like if you're, so it's always distracting. But if I can pull some people aside, and not just the vendors, but other customers too. I mean, I see so many people. I've talked to interesting people. We've built like relationships. I mean.
Serious characters show up, man.
Oh, you definitely get some of the characters. I mean, but then at the same point, you get talking to somebody in line, and they're like, "Oh, your daughter's interested in doing this as a profession." I actually do that, and I can help you out.
Yeah,
And now my daughter works with somebody, and it's like,
that's awesome.
and it's just kind of. Just because we've sat and smoked a couple joints
Yeah.
while waiting for a door to open together.
Yeah.
But then you realize, oh, yeah, I know. Everybody's
Totally.
here for a basic purpose, just decent people looking for community.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the other day, so we're trying to find a house for my mom, and I'm talking to a couple of growers, and somewhere in the conversation, I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to find a place for my mom out here somewhere, She goes, oh, well, I'm a realtor, right? Here, take my card. I'll help her find something.
Yeah.
And it's like we've been having a bitch of a time finding like a solid realtor who will just pick up the fucking phone, and lo and behold,
And,
we
yeah,
find one in this community
find
without
some
even trying.
relationship, and-
Like, yeah.
And it is. It's just from actually, and it's the opportunity really to just talk with people.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's awesome. I like what you're doing here.
I-
Thank you for having me.
No, thank
I hope
you
I
for
didn't
coming.
Disappoint for the second
Again,
episode. I've
we're
never
gonna-
done one of these before, so I'm honored to be here.
This is my second one, and something I've always wanted to do. So I've never had a reason. The closest I've ever come is I once thought about doing a Star Trek podcast about Star Trek podcasts because there were so many of them. I was like, maybe I'll just do a wrap-up show of those. But then I'm like, fuck. Then I got a whole bunch of homework. I got to listen to a fucking bunch of Star Trek podcasts. But I was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm out. Everyone decided it was just too much work. Then I'm like, oh, wait, if I make it easy, we can just do it something like that and roll. And, well, I guess that's it. Let's go roll. You want to go smoke?
Let's do it.
Let's go.